Well, welcome, friends, to the Margin Call special episode with John Perez. I'm Mike Adams. John Perez joins us tonight because this is an emergency meeting. It's late Saturday night of March 11th. We'll be posting this on Sunday, but John Perez joins us because we've had two bank collapses in the last week, just as John and I and others have been warning about for quite some time. It's now happening, and contagion is already in play. John Perez, welcome to the show.
Yeah, nice to see you, Mike. Boy, everything we talked about in the past is now coming true, being fulfilled. We got Bitcoin on the ropes, Silvergate on the ropes. There's another story that other stories that I'll talk about here, but it's so glad to be back. And I can say this, it's everything that we talk about, we preach, getting prepared, being ready. This is like go time, where it's like, now we're being tested now. It's like, did you go to cash? Are you protecting yourself with backup metals, silver, gold, all these things here? So this is as scary as it is for some people, not all of us many of us are actually prepared. And this is exactly why you buy silver and gold and precious metals to protect yourself. This is everything right here.
So let's just cover the basics for anybody who needs to catch up on this. So last week, both Silvergate went into a total liquidation meltdown. I mean, you could call it an orderly liquidation, but it's still a liquidation. They're ending. But then even worse, Silicon Valley Bank, or SVB, went into FDIC receivership inadvertently because everybody wanted their money back. And it turned out that SVB had placed these really unwise bets on treasuries or bonds that I think were only yielding 1.5%. And of course, the value of those bonds has plummeted as the Fed has raised interest rates. But somehow this bank didn't know about hedging, and they didn't cover their risk somehow. And now you have all of these tech startups and biotech companies, by the way, and this virtue signaling SVB. You know they're going to be lining up and begging for bailouts because they lost hundreds of billions of dollars of people's money, it seems. So that's kind of the background. John, take it from there. Where do you think we go?
Yeah, well, I think, think about where we're going. Let's talk about what's happened for us to get here. I mean, look, last week, Silvergate was in collapse in the news. Silvergate literally fell off the news cycle. I mean, Silvergate was the hub of all finance for FTX. We still are going, I believe we're going to see connections between Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate, and FTX. And I think there's more to this here. I think we're going to be talking about Executive Order 13848, because a lot of people in the FTX group, a lot of that money went to all these politicians. And if we find out that these politicians were bought with their money from FTX, then we're looking at Executive Order 13848. And we've had all these exchanges go down, all these crypto here go down. We've had gold and silver pretty much sit still the whole time, which doesn't surprise me, because the last thing the cabal wants is gold and silver actually, rearing their ugly head to show everyone who the real life jacket is, which is silver and gold, but a lot of different things that are happening here that have led up to this. And I think this is going to accelerate. I think this is going to go into a worldwide contagion situation here, without a doubt.
Okay, that's huge. That's what I want to talk to you about. But before we get there, let me just mention, you and I, John, and many others out there have been warning about coming bank collapse scenarios, right? People like Gerald Celente and
yes.
Manarino and others, right? We've been warning about this for a long time. And of course, the naysayers were always like, oh, that's never going to happen again. That's something from the 20th century. It'll never happen again. The banks are smart, blah, blah, blah. FDIC covers everything. Well, now we come to find out that, yes, this collapse did happen because the bankers made horrible bets on investment instruments that turned against them as interest rates changed. And we've come to find out that around 95% of the deposits there were not insured by the FDIC.
That's
so
right.
you got companies like Roku that had almost $70 million of exposure there that apparently is gone at this moment. And you've got all these other companies gone from Silicon Valley Bank. Yes, the bank collapses just happened 2 in 1 week, and it's the largest collapse I should say the second largest collapse in the history of America in terms of the capital that just vanished. So there we go. It's happened.
Yeah, I believe WAMU was the largest. And I worked with when WAMU was basically torn to pieces and consumed by J.P. Morgan, there with Bear Stearns, who had all the silver, former employer for Jeffrey Epstein at Bear Stearns. When the whole system came down, I think it was in 2005, 2006, we were already looking inside Washington Mutual and looking at the paper coming apart. And it was a couple years later when Jim Cramer said, your money at Bear Stearns is just fine. And then it went off the cliff after that.
Every time Jim Cramer says everything's good, nothing to worry about, that's when you should head for the exits. If you bet against Jim Cramer, you will do very well in the markets.
Yes, that is absolutely true. I'll tell you, we're in 2008. Well, actually, it was 2009 when we were crashing here. The stock market is still holding here. And now what happened last time is stocks started to crash back in October 2008, and we were in free fall in January, February. But it wasn't until March 11th, 2009, March 11th. Here we are. It was March 11th, and today's March 11th. Well, final major delta there. So here you had Jim Cramer went on television on CNBC on March 11th, 2009, and said, your money's just fine at Bear Stearns. Well, Bear Stearns was collapsing after the stock market was in free fall. I mean, we were coming down thousands of points, and here it came down. The stock market here, it's still holding up. We have yet to get the big crash. So we're not out of the woods at all. In fact, I read a story about a guy who said he had $10 million in SVBD. I'm like, what? 250,000 in insurance, and the rest, well, that means 900 and 750 are like poof, vaporized. They're probably going to give him a certificate. And what that certificate represents, we don't know. It could be a CBDC. Here's your 250,000. And your 909,750,000. Here's your certificate. I mean, what is this? What is this? You get shares in the bank. It's like we're going to try to do an IPO in the future.
This is a critical point, that the government can use these a contagion or cascading bank failures to try to force people into central bank digital currencies. Just as you said, they don't necessarily have to give you your money back, and because those are uninsured accounts, it's gone unless the government wants to give it back to you. Now, let's transition to this related topic. These companies, this bank, a big virtue signaling woke bank, probably hates America, hates the Constitution, hates Christians, all this. Probably hates gold and silver too.
Oh, yeah.
This is a bank used by the woke left, tech people and the biotech pharma startups. Okay. That's what this bank was. The tech people, the tech tyrants, the kind of people who push censorship, who love to steal elections, the kind of people who love to silence anyone with whom they disagree, the kind of people that push the vaccines and push censorship about vaccines and lockdowns and masking children and so on. And now their banks go poof, and they're going to demand bailouts from the rest of us, aren't they? They're lining up to demand bailouts.
Well, this is really important. A really small part of this story that has not been covered. And, I'm always looking for places where everyone's not looking. There was Silvergate got, that's the other bank, the other one, got a loan from a federal home loan from San Francisco. It was federal money, bailed out Silvergate, $4.3 billion. That's not even talked about. So we don't even know it. I mean, so Silvergate, which is still in business, has been bailed out. A crypto bank was bailed out with Federal Reserve money. I mean, this is absolutely insane because there's nothing backing crypto. And this is there's a really good website I recommend everyone go to called Wall Street on Parade. And on Wall Street on Parade, they covered, well, it was interesting because on the board of directors of that bank is the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank. Now this is a big conflict here. Now, take notes here, people. Take notes. This is Reuters. March 10th, the CEO of failed Silicon Valley Bank, no longer a director, where? At the San Francisco Federal Reserve. How is it that Silicon Valley Bank CEO, this guy sold 3.6 million in shares a week before they crashed. This guy's just unloading shares. He knew, and all their employees got their bonuses before everything collapsed. So they were just sucking money out of the system here. And here, March 10th, Reuters, the chief executive of failed Silicon Valley Bank, Greg Becker, is no longer on the board of directors at the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. Wait a second, Perez, are you telling me, yes, the CEO at Silicon Valley Bank, the same guy who drove this bank into the ground doing God knows what, we still don't know the full details yet, is also on the board of directors for the Federal Reserve of San Francisco? I mean, talk about a conflict of interest. How much money did Silicon Valley Bank get? I mean, he was on the board that gave money to Silvergate. So we got some big cans of worms that are opening up, but these are craters. So the FDIC literally has to take these. They're taking on craters. So all this money has left the FDIC but this was a federal home loan bank. It wasn't the normal Federal Reserve. But what are the odds that the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank is on the board of directors at the Federal Reserve, and that Federal Reserve gave $4.3 billion to Silvergate? So
yeah, insider deals.
We as normal people, we cannot walk across the street jaywalk, and they have software to determine whether you or me, if I want to share a link with Brighteon on it or Natural News to like on Facebook, they'll just flag me. I can't do it because, well, how is it they can have software to find something so small like that, yet these banks can get away with billions and not a soul goes to jail? Nothing is said. And here we are. Who's holding the bag? Taxpayers are stuck holding the bag here.
White collar financial crime never gets prosecuted, it seems. But by the way, interesting. On Friday, both Facebook and Twitter lifted the ban on posting naturalnews.com article links on the same day.
Congratulations.
No, I mean, we don't know. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe they're going to reinstate the ban. We have no idea. But why would they unban naturalnews.com on the same day? Why are Twitter and Facebook talking about who to unban?
Well, if you look at the board of directors on Silicon Valley Bank, some of the biggest investors at Silicon Valley Bank, they're all tech people. I mean, Peter Thiel is one of the investors. Vanguard is invested in Silicon Valley Bank. BlackRock is invested in Silicon Valley Bank. Peter Thiel is in Silicon Valley Bank. I was looking through the investors, it's all institutions. How is it that these titans of Wall Street and money management can be invested into a shithole like this bank? I mean, Silicon Valley, how is this possible here? And I'll tell you, because the regulators are looking the other way, just like Silver, Gary Gensler and Silver, just like everything else here. I think what we're really seeing here, Mike, is I think we're beginning to finally see the cracks in the dam really start to open up, because you can't hide this. The people are going to wake up. The average normie is going to be turning on the news saying, how is all this money going out the door? And yet gasoline is expensive, food inflation's high, housing's going down, my $10 for a dozen eggs, and these guys are walking off with their bonuses and millions. I think.
I want to talk about the consequences of the bailouts that are coming, because we know that there are going to be massive bailouts for this, because the Silicon Valley people, they're going to keep crying and pouting and begging for money. The same thing's happening in the UK, even over the weekend. They want taxpayer money to bail them out because they didn't believe in the things that you and I talk about. They didn't believe that banks could collapse. They didn't believe that you should have gold and silver. They didn't believe in risk aversion. And they live in this artificial world where they think men can get pregnant and their banks will never fail. And guess what? Men can't have babies, and your bank just went to shit, basically, is what just happened. So
I saw the article on the wokeness factor of this bank. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that this bank even existed, because if you look at the things they believed in and you looked at the management there, it's like this bank was really kind of to me like a globalist anti-American Silicon Valley bank that had nothing rooted in reality, basic common sense, just complete insanity of their belief systems. But listen, all the big institutions all put their money in there. So I think
that's indicative of wokeism, is to live in a fictional, delusional world where you think that, the laws of cause and effect don't apply to you. I think this is related. I think that the woke banks will continue to collapse, whereas the more realistic conservative banks will survive this. That's my take. What do you think about that?
I agree, because the whole ESG thing is a total scam. I mean, it's like ESG extra scam grande. It's like what more do you want? They want to tell you where you're going to invest your money, and they're going to put points on these companies here. Look, this is like totalitarian banking. I mean, this is Stalinist banking that they're talking about. But as like George Carlin said, this whole idea of wokeism is basically fascism with manners. These people come out with this wonderful language and this. Yes. Oh yeah. I saw the video. Someone sent a video of a Ken doll Barbie that was pregnant. And I just thought, okay, I had to take a deep breath, say, okay, did I just see this? This is 2023. I'm like, please. I talked to my dad. Please, Dad, thank God you're not here to see this crap. You couldn't believe, but this is the bank, the Silicon Valley Bank. I think you're right. This is the first one. I think all the woke banks are going to go belly up, and I wouldn't have actually, 5:00 in the morning, I broadcasted 11 hours of podcasting on Friday. My voice is still raspy from that. Had a great time. I woke up, I said, breaking news. This is John Perez. Wake up this morning and go to your bank this morning and make a withdrawal, and then go to your local coin store and get yourself some more silver, because I don't like what I see. And lo and behold, a couple hours later, boom, 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 bang. And people, all of a sudden, like, wow, there's nobody listening to me. They're all on the road. They're all literally, everyone was pulling money out. And
no, it's happened overnight. In fact, and think about who or what you want to plug here, but I got to plug our gold and silver sponsor here for this segment, which is the Treasure Island Coins and Precious Metals Company. And I don't earn any affiliate fees working with them because their prices are so good. You can see their prices online, but just go to metalswithmike.com. And again, insured, discreet delivery, prices that are honest, that are online. You can check prices. In fact, their sister company provides the gold and silver to a lot of the smaller retailers across North America. That's my recommended source for physical gold and silver. John, what do you want to plug on gold and silver?
I'll tell you, I've been working with Art Levine at Monex since 2005, 2006. And my mother gets silver from there. And I just tell people, call Art, just tell them you're part of Silver is Money and you will get the love. And, we had people come in.
How do people reach them?
Go to monex.com and call up the company. They have the number with me right now, and just ask for Art Levine, and make sure make sure you mention Silver is Money and Art Levine, and you'll be happy to. And the guy, he has been in the business he was selling silver in 1980. This guy's got like 48, 50 years of business between the two of us together. I think he was managing like 55 million in silver accounts when I was there. I was managing 16, 17 million in silver. So between the two of us, both, that's gone past 100 million, but he's just got so much experience, and he's just taking care of everybody in my Silver Gold Stocks Club. So it's been great. And he called me, everybody called me on Friday morning.
Exactly. Now, let me mention something else, John, for wherever people want to get their gold and silver. That there was a massive oversupply situation of gold and silver recently in the hands of retailers, because there was scarcity last year. They put in a whole bunch of orders. Premiums went through the roof. They got a lot of supply. Now premiums have collapsed compared to last year, right? You've seen that in gold and silver.
Yes.
So right now, retailers have like a lot of inventory. Prices are still suppressed, and premiums are much lower than last year. You can't think of a better time to buy gold and silver. Frankly.
To put this in perspective, the average price of gasoline in 1980 was 85 cents. let's just round up and be nice and say it was $1 in 1980. Okay. And if you subtracted, 60% off that, it would be 40 cents a gallon, right? The price you're paying for silver right now, which is at a 65% discount from 1980, is like buying gasoline at 40 cents a gallon. I mean, that's perspective there that cannot be beat. Somehow the magic, this is part of the silver psyop, the suppression here. This is a gift right now. This is a total gift. They're going to have to let silver go, because another story that's nobody's talking about, and I covered this, is the fact that Jamie Dimon, who runs JP Morgan, the biggest silver holder in the United States, the biggest bank. And by the way, I will not be surprised if JP Morgan shows up again. Jamie Dimon is fighting a deposition about a lawsuit
Epstein.
charging JP Morgan for being the cash conduit for Jeffrey Epstein's sex crimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the largest bank here. This is Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan. So along with Silvergate, you've got FTX, we got Silvergate, we got you got JP Morgan, like literally is like in flames. It's like watching the Hindenburg go down, it's like it's just explode. It's like, but he's fighting a deposition. When he gets deposed here, I think all hell is going to break out worldwide. In fact, JP Morgan will be broken up into 1,000 pieces. Yeah,
really?
JP Morgan's going to be going away. Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, I have to remind our audience that I W crypto Nostradamus, because your predictions always seem to come true. So let me ask you about what you think next week is going to look like, by the way. I mean, people are going to wake up Monday morning all over the world because, Silvergate, Silicon Valley Bank in particular had offices all over the world. People are going to wake up and say, hey, where's my paycheck? Where's the money to run my company? And it's gone. What's going to happen starting Monday morning?
I'll tell you this. By the end of next week, we're going to be close to 50,000 tech workers will be laid off next week. They will not make payroll next Friday unless the FDIC, if the FDIC doesn't come in. Now, why should they be bailing them out? I don't know. I don't think they will. I think it's going to make a lot of people very angry because the CEO yanked out millions, paid all their employee millions. But I spoke with, two software companies contacted me. They watched the show, and a HR person said, we could not make payroll. What's happening is that a bunch of payroll companies, I think maybe it's 50% of all the tech startups in Silicon Valley, their money was with Silicon Valley Bank. Well, right. In their covenants, putting money into the banks there, if they yank their money out, they lose some of their venture capital money access to it. So it's really,
is that right?
it's even deeper here. Even not only was Silicon Valley Bank a conduit for venture capital here, but they were also doing wealth management. It's like, hey, would you like a home loan? Sign this here. How about some personalized wealth management? Put your money here. So literally, some people have had all their eggs in one basket. Whoa. And these stories are just coming out. There was one guy that talked about the 10 million. So I was reading some pieces on this. I believe that the entire Silicon Valley real estate sector is going to crater, simply because there are so many employees that are sustaining the area there. They're not going to have paychecks. I got Bitcoin crypto. Well, that's going down too. I believe Bitcoin and the NASDAQ are going to go simultaneously. We haven't even seen that yet. That's going to go. Tether's going to be we're going to find Tether in the background here. We're going to find Bitcoin in the background. They just haven't exposed it yet.
What about the depegging of Circle? The stable coin has already dropped down into the 80s, 80 something cents on the dollar.
I think all of them. I think every stable coin. I think of course the stable coin to watch will be Tether, because I think Circle had, I think, a couple $1 billion deposited there over at Silicon Valley Bank. So it seems to me, you look at it, you think, wait a second, these are supposed to be stable coins. Why are stable coins putting money into unstable banks. I mean, why aren't they buying gold and silver? I mean,
Right.
seriously, I'm like, stable coin. What do you run? I run stable coin. What do you do? I put my money in Silicon Valley Bank. He says, this is unstable language. Only an unstable person would put their money in this environment. You got to be buying gold and silver. Why? Because we're in the bunker now. It's like pretty much all of us that are prepared. Like, well, okay, now what's next? I mean, when they let gold and silver go, it's going to go straight up. Because where are you going to go right now? Car loans, auto industry destroyed, housing being destroyed, commercial real estate off the cliff. The only thing left right now is the entire real estate market, which is being held up by Jim Cramer. There's only one place to go. The life jacket that says, I'll take a platinum life jacket, a palladium life jacket, mining stocks. It's like the reason why I'm up so much right now is I'm waiting because sooner or later, somebody in the mining sector is going to get hit with I had my money at Silicon Valley Bank. I had to sell my stock. I got a margin call. So we got a lot going here, but I do believe that the real estate market in Silicon Valley is going to be one of the hardest hit. Because
that's
not
huge,
only, because we don't know. I was doing some more detail work on the wealth management. They did mortgage loans there. Well, just about since 50%, imagine this, 50% of all the tech startups have their money coming out of Silicon Valley. Just think how many mortgage loans or home loans or personal loans, business loans, they're just gone. They're just vaporized and they will not be able to make. But I think by the end of next week here, we're going to see layoffs in big numbers next week. Wow. And that's going to affect the future layoffs here. So I expect and here's another side note. Here's a side note for the people in the conspiracy world. There's an area out there that talks about in the Q world, it talks about a sealed indictment list. And this is something I've studied for years. And the one thing that caught my attention is when I was watching, why is it that of all the countries, you think New York, Washington, D.C., there was the Central California had like 10, 12 times more. They had 114,000 sealed indictments on a list in Central California, more than California, New York, and Washington, D.C. combined. What is going on here that we don't know about here? So I think, Mike, we are going to see some really, really crazy stuff here. We're going into window jumping territory where people are going to be jumping out of windows here pretty soon.
I was just watching, because of your recommendation, I was just watching Margin Call again. Great movie from 2011, right? And very important to see again at this time. And there's a scene where one of the traders is up on top of the building and he kind of jumps up on the rail, and his colleagues pull him back from the rail. And then he says, not today, not today. You're like, I'm going to survive another day. But he's implying I might jump tomorrow. Let's see how this goes. I agree with you, though.
We are there. I hate to say it. I'm not, it's true, though.
It is true. But here's the thing. These are the same people. I would say that America's appetite for bailing out Silicon Valley right now is very low because Silicon Valley has been exposed as running the censorship for the FDA, the CDC, the rigged elections, the Biden White House. Silicon Valley, and maybe not necessarily these individuals in their small, startups, maybe not these people, but these kind of people, these lefty tech tyrant people. They're
communists.
They're communists, right? Why should we bail out all these communists or fascists who are like they are next year's censorship Orwellian tyrant, right? Why should we bail them out?
Yeah, my mother's 84 years old. She came here. She immigrated legally, from another country, trying to get away from a tyrannical government. And we were talking about this. She goes, I can't believe it's 84 years old, and I see America has gone down this road and seeing all these bankers, these people who are shutting everyone down. They control the internet. You look at all the people all the investors on the board that are the major institutional investors on Silicon Valley Bank, they're the censors. These people are anti-First Amendment. They are censored people here. Why should taxpayers like us who love freedom, love gold, love our Second Amendment, Why should we be bailing them out? No, that's a big no. I hope they don't. I hope they don't. People need to learn, take responsibility here. You and I, we do our business. We take the fall. We make a bad decision. We suffer for it. These people here, reading, there should be no bailout for anybody up there.
That's right. No bailouts. I'm going to repeat that in my articles and in my podcast. No bailouts for techno tyrants, because they are among the worst people. They're anti-American. Yes. They promote genitalia mutilation of children. They push transgenderism.
They're sick. These people are sick.
Many of them, I mean, I know there are exceptions, but many of them are sick, twisted people, and they hate America. But in addition to that, John, they mock people like you and I when we say, watch out for bank failures, right? They laugh, they roll their eyes. There's not going to be any bank failures. We're rolling in cash over here. Everybody's rich, blah, blah, blah. And then isn't it funny? Their bank is the first one to fail.
They're all going down. And by the way, there's another executive order out there that I believe, I think in our very first interview, I told you that I believe that there was a major sting operation that the U.S. military has been involved with. And I believe it's still ongoing right now. And I believe that they're collecting everything. I mean, if there was a book, if there's a biblical book of life, then there's probably a near biblical in proportion book of crimes where sitting at the NSA, sitting there just like, okay, now what did you do wrong this week? We have everything, rest in peace, Robert David Steele. He said it. He goes, they have everything. Make the deal. We have you guys. We have everything. I don't think anybody's going to get away with anything. I think that that's conspiracy. It's total conspiracy. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, this looks almost too organized. How is it that these CEOs were pulling out all their money, selling their stock, dumping? It's like, oh, we're going to call up our friends at the FDIC. And of course, I mean, you're the CEO. It's like, hey, I'm on the board of the Federal Reserve, my friend. I got this one in the bag. I mean, think about that. The CEO's he's on the Federal Reserve Board. It's like, okay, just play along then and just get that paycheck before it goes away. I mean, right. Americans need to stand up here. This is where Americans really need to put their heels in and dig in and say, look, no more. This is no way. This is 2008 all over again. Too big to fail. They bail these guys out. Too big to jail. Nobody went to jail. I think one guy did, Angelo from Mozilla. But I don't believe that none of them, we and I aren't getting bailed out for our bad mistakes here. They should not be bailed out. I think Bill Ackman was requesting a government bailout. No, let it go. Let it go. Let it go because
if you don't let the bank failures actually fail, then all you do is you encourage the horrible decisions that led to this failure in the first place. And then ultimately the whole system collapses. I mean, you have to let bad investments play out and fail. Otherwise, you don't have a functioning market system. So, and then the other side of this too is that if they bail out all of Silicon Valley Bank and Silvergate, well, then they have to print the money to do that. So that devalues the dollars for everybody else who's already paying sky high inflation for food and fuel and housing and everything else, right? So talk about dollar devaluation. This is the road to anarchy here.
Yeah, well, this is an anarcho banking system right now. By the way, we haven't even touched on look at all the money they're just sending to Ukraine. I mean, it's like literally, it's like the United States, the U.S. Federal Reserve is a private entity that is in flames right now. And if there was ever a situation or a story to take up to vote for the people to say, this Federal Reserve thing, it's just time to roll this thing up and file for bankruptcy and shove all the debt into the Federal Reserve, which is a private organization, and bankrupt that thing and start all over. I believe that the Federal Reserve is going to file bankruptcy. It is a private organization, and they can take all this debt with them. Yeah, I firmly believe that the Federal Reserve is going to, they have to have no choice. What are they going to do? I mean,
as part of some kind of currency reset?
I think that in the future, when they're going to use this crisis, which they're going to accelerate, they're going to put flames on this because they're going to pull off the Hegelian dialect thing. Here's the problem: the system. Oh my gosh, let's reaction. Let's regulate. I got a great idea, solution. We got a problem. Banking's no good. Crypto's no good. Let's go with the CBDC: problem, reaction, solution. I've always said Bitcoin would be wreckable. Hard to believe it's still even registering out there. People are still promoting it, but that's connected to Epstein, which is a whole nother story here. But I believe that the Federal Reserve down the road, we'll see who becomes president in 2024 here. We've got Judy Shelton was in the news the other day. I thought, this is Miss Gold herself. I couldn't believe she was speaking. There's a lot of bills. They're taking off the taxes off of gold and silver, and various states are doing this, and it's actually picking up here. So I think, because of the situation, how complex it is, it's going to take a lot of time to convert, but we're at the stage where the stage is being set for all of America and for the whole world. I mean, the other side, the backdrop to everything I'm talking about here is this. We've got the gold back ruble coming. We've got the gold back yuan coming. On Friday, China was announced, brokered a deal. China brokered a deal with the Saudis and the Iranians. I couldn't believe it. This is earth shaking. I mean, this is Nixonian type stuff, where Nixon made the deal with the Saudis to take the petrodollar. And next thing you know, Saudi Arabia has merged, has now putting an embassy in Iran. That was Friday. On the same day, the Chinese government came out and called on the United States to leave Syria and stop plundering all their oil, which was a shocker. Matt Gaetz, the day before, put in a bill wanting to remove troops from Syria. Russia began their new stage going to Ukraine. So here we all this stuff in banking. And you've got this week, the Israelis were running their bombing drills over the Mediterranean. You flip it over, it's going back the other way. But to get to the Persian Gulf, to get to Iran, because they've already budgeted to bomb Iran, they have to go through Saudi Arabia. Now, suddenly, Saudi Arabia signs this agreement and says, respect of sovereign territories. You read this, I said, this is a Chinese document here that was written to stop the attack that's coming on the Iranian plant. And at the same day, the Iranians ordered, I think, 25 or 36 Su-35 Russian fighter jets. So the entire world is shifting over there as we're dealing with the Silicon Valley Bank system here. So it's huge. We got a lot on the plate here, not counting the South China Sea. And then a story came out today. Let me finish this one story. Right. A story came out today that the Russians hit a deep underground bunker that was being used by NATO troops and foreign troops running anti-aircraft missile systems underground. And they used bunker busters and actually hit this. And basically the word is, I'm trying to get some details on it, that there was a lot of casualties, but they were not Ukrainian. They were NATO and American troops underground running anti-aircraft operations underground there in Ukraine.
In Ukraine or in Poland?
In Ukraine.
In Ukraine. Okay. All right. Wow. That's interesting. Well, I just wanted to add, yeah, there is. But also last week, I know you saw this, India announced rupee trading with many different countries. So, India had been doing trade with dollars, right? So India would have to buy dollars and then use dollars to trade with, whoever. Sri Lanka, when they had an economy, or South America, whoever. Of course, India being part of the BRICS nations, India completely moving away from the dollar bit by bit.
Yes.
It's not all going to happen overnight, but it's happening quite rapidly. And just like you said, Iran, China, Russia, India, of course, South Africa, Brazil, the BRICS nations, plus about 100 other smaller nations that are frankly tired of being bullied by the U.S. with its petrodollar.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is flipping so fast.
Well, they all say that we all know Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, trillions of dollars, and now our banking system's collapsing. And what are they doing? Trying to throw more money into the fireplace of banking. All these banks, and if you really look at what apparently there's a whole big connection between Shanghai and Silicon Valley Bank. Why were the connections so deep at Silicon Valley Bank with China? I believe that Silicon Valley was the head of the snake for merging Chinese technology, social credit score technology, with American technology, so they could apply this their surveillance and tracking state with America, which would eventually lead, eventually a surveillance and tracking system that would eventually lead to what a biblical 666 tracking system using technology with really nice names to it. I mean, because that's that's the only way to describe that.
Is it possible, John, that white hats actually took out Silicon Valley Bank because, Peter Thiel was one of the key voices that called for people to urgently take their money out of SVB. And even though he's a shareholder, that's only a small part of, his total portfolio. But without him telling people to pull their money out, this may not have happened. So is it possible that Peter Thiel is on the white hat team here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Peter Thiel is, I think, the world's most successful investor. I mean, his numbers, his returns far exceed Warren Buffett. I think I read an article on it. He was like 100 and something thousand% over years. I think one of the largest CIA contractors. But I was not aware that he told people to pull their money out. So yeah, I think what you're saying, I'm all for that, because at the end of the day, it's war. If there's a deep state war going on between the white hats and the black hats, the first thing you go for in war is what did the U.S. government do with Russia? They went straight for their banking system, right for the ruble. And then of course, Putin came in. What did he do? It crashed. He didn't print more money. He put gold and oil under that ruble, pegged it, and then the ruble came back. The United States is doing something different. Here, they're throwing money at something. And the last thing they want to do is, wait a second, please don't do it. I mean, all of us are sitting here, as bad as the banking system was, a lot of us are sitting here like a football game going, it's happening, it's happening. They got no choice. They're going to have to go to gold and silver, period, end of story. Well, when the ruble went down, as soon as they put that gold there, that ruble switched and went back up. The dollar's going to be dumped. You see the Saudi-Iran thing. The Chinese, here's a new story. The Chinese have just taken over the largest oil fields in Iraq. ExxonMobil is being pushed out of Iraq. The Chinese are coming in. The Chinese and the Russians, or one or the other, is taking over 2 or 3 ex-U.S. military bases. And I'm waiting. I believe I'm going to make a prediction here. Iraq and Iran are going to come together, make an agreement. They're going to open up embassies, and it's going to be the biggest nightmare that the cabal never wanted, was Iran and Iraq actually working together. You got all these oil resources now with Saudi Arabia now working with Iran. Saudi Arabia can actually come in and broker a deal between Iran. I mean, we're talking about an alliance here that's going to go, because Syria is joining the Russian SWIFT system. Turkey has joined the Russian SWIFT system. Iran has joined the Russian SWIFT system. And you can see where Russia is building a land bridge coming from the north, coming down. They're going to take Moldova. I believe there's going to be a major false flag in Transnistria. They're going to take Moldova, take Romania. They're going to flip and go pro-Russian. There's going to be a land bridge from Russia all the way down through Turkey. And we're going to see a big, giant alliance going all the way to Iran and going all the way across to China, this is the area where the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars will be made in the next 20, 30 years. So,
and America is actually making that happen by blowing up the Nord Stream pipelines, pissing off all the people in the Middle East. I mean, the United States is almost working for Russia in flipping the world to Russian influence. And Russia has, don't forget, folks, Russia has almost 1/3 of the natural resources of the planet that are known. Energy, minerals, fertilizer, you name it, but especially energy and minerals, different forms of energy. In the world. Richest country in the world.
Yes.
So they need the pipelines to be able to distribute that. Well, America blew up Nord Stream. And just as you said, John, Russia can just make friends with these other nations, put pipelines through those nations, and boom, they can have a pipeline, direct to Turkey if they want.
Yeah, well, they will. In fact, what they're doing now is Turkey has become an energy hub, and now Turkey's going to be taking Russian fuel and brokering it. That'll get around the sanctions. You can't buy Russian fuel. Well, we bought it from from the Turks. It's like, oh, that's a different ballgame.
Right.
So
they can buy formerly Russian fuel. Yeah.
So they're NATO, and there's something coming called the Russian Oil Navy. The Russians are building all their own oil tankers now to get around the sanctions and the Lloyd's of London insurance thing. So we have a Russian Oil Navy coming here. And then also the thing about the thing about Nord Stream 2, the story by Seymour Hersh is just absolutely stunning. But are we surprised? I'm not surprised. I mean, it's pretty straight. I mean, you had Victoria Nuland as well as Biden saying we're gonna stop this thing. Well, they blew up the pipe, and the pipe's blown up. But follow the money here. Who is the head of NATO? Stoltenberg, head of NATO. What else does he do? Stoltenberg happens to be the central bank president of Norway. Well, what is the largest energy fund at the World Economic Forum? The official energy fund for the W is the Norwegian Sovereign Energy Fund. And it's a woke fund. They're investing in zero carbon industries. Like, oh, that's funny. An oil fund is investing in zero carbon funds. Well, after that pipeline blew up, magically, you want to say, follow the money here. How is it that the head of NATO is the central bank of Norway, and all wars are bankers' wars, happens to run the Norway, where the Norwegian Sovereign Fund is part of the WEF. After that pipeline was blown up, their revenues went up 50 to 100% because they made up the losses after that pipeline was blown up. So if NATO was involved with blowing this, they paid off. It paid off.
Plus, according to Sy Hersh, the Norwegian military dropped the detonator and did the remote detonation of the bomb, right?
Oh, yeah. This is an act of war.
It was an act of war. Yeah. I call them the secret legion of Norwegians. Just like in the night dropping sonar buoys or whatever. But yeah, the Norwegians had every reason in the world to blow up Nord Stream along with the U.S. Navy.
Yeah. So, I have a prediction on Germany. Germany is going to move to the Russian sphere because the German people are already demonstrating. They're out in the streets, and they're out in the streets. The same thing. They're out in the streets in Moldova. Moldova, I believe, is going to switch. Their prime minister is going to be a Russian influenced one. They had big demonstrations in the country of Georgia yesterday. And Romania is going to go through a political change there. The problem we have right now is that the American airborne troops are in Romania, and they've been invited to come into Moldova, and Moldova is about ready to attack Transnistria. And I've been warning my group. I said, I'm expecting a nuclear-related false flag operation in Transnistria. Really? Because there was a report by the Russian government that there was Californium 289 or 259. They said it was shipped. They alleged that it was shipped through Odessa in the Transnistria area. So if something goes off there and there's indication of some sort of nuclear material, I won't be surprised if Moldovan troops are literally, and Ukrainian troops are now surrounding Transnistria, which is an independent area. There's 1,500 peacekeepers there, but there's a giant ammo dump there. There's enough ammunition, and Ukraine needs the ammo, and Moldovan troops are now moving closer, but the Moldovans brought in the Romanians, and with the Romanian troops, I believe there's a bunch of Americans that are in there right now. So this area here is not in the news. I'm covering it very closely, and I pretty much for the last 3 weeks I said, keep your eye on this area. And then the Zaporizhia, which is another nuclear plant, which I believe that's going to be in the news here soon, as well as Chernobyl. So there's 3 nuclear events that can go off. They're set up. I mean, they're like classic false flag operation setups that are ready to go. So,
well, yeah, I mean, the West has been shelling the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant for quite some time, trying to get it to detonate or leak, just to have Chernobyl. A leak, right?
Well, but I think they're losing. They're losing. So if they lose this area, they're like, well, if we're going to lose, as soon as this Bakhmut completely falls down, that's when I think we're going to see some really, really evil things done that are outside the realm of normal warfare.
Yeah, you're probably right. And Bakhmut looks very, very close to a final fall at the moment. At least that's how it looks. But you mentioned Californium, the element. I think there's nuclear fallout in California because of the banks. I mean, we're having a bank nuclear fallout event. So there's probably Californium isotopes raining down all over the place, metaphorically speaking. But let's bring it back to the banks as we wrap up the final few minutes here, because the average person is not prepared at all for banks to fail. They have no idea this can happen.
Yeah, this is probably the most difficult part is, you tell people, get out, get out, get out. And you can talk to the average. I've had probably 5 people call me. I haven't talked to them in a long time. I saw your show the other day. You were telling people and like, did you pull your money out? No, where do you have it? I go, Wells Fargo. Did you know Wells Fargo is in the news. It's been in the news for the last 10 years, doing all kinds of stupid things, but now they're direct deposits at Wells Fargo. They said, some people said they were disappearing. Some people said they were pulling money out of their accounts. And they're saying, we're at the point to where you need to listen to your great grandparents who are no longer here. They put their money in gold and in the mattress because they knew what happened in the 1929 crash. There was no FDIC. Money was just gone. This is just gone. And then they come around and say, give us your gold. We got your cash. Now give us your gold. And by the way, go to war while you're at it too here. Now, these kids are I was reading these Twitter feeds. Oh, they're going to give us our money back in a certificate and the federal government's going to bail us out. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this here. I think they're going to give you a CBDC. They're just going to ask you, which one do you want? I don't know which one. Well, you can put it on your right hand or your wrist, or you can put it on your forehead. It's like, I don't know if I signed up for that. Well, you ain't got no choice. Well, it's either that or nothing. Got any gold or silver? Nope. Well, right now, I mean, everything we prepare for here at Silver's Money, everything was, we were specifically prepared for this very moment. I was telling people, double check your finances, double check your cash, make sure you have your food, your defense, everything in place here. Your Second Amendment laws are changing to our favor right now, which is wonderful. Do you have your
just
energy?
in time.
If you're in a snow area, everything we prepared for. So in a lot of ways, I'm not dealing with anyone panicking, but the public though, you can tell people are walking around saying, wow, did you hear about this? And it's like, I just tell people today, look, this is going to get a million times worse. This is the way it happened last time.
Well,
little bit here, a little bit there, and then boom, off the cliff.
And allow me to add a psychological factor to this that was caused by the FTX collapse, which will lead to more rapid bank runs in the traditional banking sector. And it's the fact that what FTX taught people, and frankly, Three Arrows Capital and Luna and everything else, Terra Luna, whatever, what it taught people is only the first people to exit make it out. That's right. The minute you hear a whisper of something, you got to take all your money out immediately. Like that's what everybody in Silicon Valley has learned thanks to Sam Bankman fraud, right?
Yeah.
You take your money out now. And they're translating that fear which is justified in crypto. They're translating into the traditional banking system too. So now bank runs are part of the culture, the mindset of people because of FTX.
Yeah, and it's funny, the very people who supported, loved, and worshipped and bowed down to crypto are the very people who are going to feel the most amount of pain.
Yeah.
That's it. Silicon Valley embraced it. It was the new thing. It was like, oh, fiat currency is bad. They print it. They do this and that. And like, well, it's like everyone in crypto fell on their own sword. Now it's like, we're just waiting. We're only 1 or 2 steps away from someone now, some billionaire, someone's going to come out and say, screw it. And they're going to throw $500 million at gold and silver. And there's going to be physical. And by the way, in my last interview with David Morgan, I talked about the COMEX apocalypse, and I made the prediction that Russia is going to be blamed for hacking on their CFTC reports, their COT reports. They're going to blame Russia on this. It sounds crazy. And I said, watch, this is going to happen. When the COMEX goes, they're going to say, those damn Russians, silver's going to take off. What are they going to do? They're going to blame, they have no one else to blame. They're not going to blame Jamie Dimon. They've already paid their fees, even though the courts are in place. They've showed it here. They've got to put other people. They're going to blame Russia. They already have. I've already read some articles. I said they're going to blame Russia for the COMEX, and of course, everyone's going to say here in America, everyone's going to scream, "No, we know these guys were manipulated. They were doing this. They were doing that." So Russia did it. So, I mean, when are they going to do that? I think very, very soon. I think we have I said this last year. We are going to have a $1.65 to $3.25 move in silver here any second at imminent. It can happen just like that. And then the game changes. Now, here's one more thing too. When I woke up Friday morning, I said, look at the silver's up 78 cents. So I went to the headlines, I went to headlines and said, oh, banks are going down. I go, well, this is a perfect day. And all day long, I said, this is a perfect day. Silver's up, stocks down, banks are crashing. Let it keep going. This is perfect. I mean, I was the guy cheering on. Yes, yes, these banks shouldn't be in business anyway. What are they doing? Come on, it's like you can't just sit here and run businesses like like a popsicle stand. Your parents, mom and dad, I spilled all my Kool-Aid in my popsicles. Well, come bail me out. This is because these banks are being run by children. You look at and none of these people can come and say, "Oh no, we're good, we're responsible adults." Like maybe you are. Why? Because most of these guys, they had their money. Their money's been sent. In fact, the guys, we're going to find out these people sent their money out somewhere else. But of course, if the CEO's on the board at the Federal Reserve, then I mean, what are we going to find out? The CFO, the CEO, or is on the board at the FDIC? I mean, weird. This is like an incestuous infection of corruption.
But you also see, I mean, you brought up a really good point, which is that most of the money in Silicon Valley is handled by people under the age of 30. And they're not old enough to have really been adults when the 2008 subprime mortgage collapse happened, or, the 2000 .com crash, or the 1997 long-term capital management, or anything before that, Black Monday, 1987. They don't remember any of this because they weren't adults. And so they think that they're all geniuses, that they can create money out of nothing. And they believe in magical monetary theory, MMT, because that's what they've been told by their cultish, left-wing brainwash doctors out there. And they believe all this nonsense. And that's why it's so psychologically shocking to them when they wake up and they realize all their money's gone. It's just gone. It's the hardest lesson they'll ever learn, the most expensive lesson, but it's the one they need to learn the most.
Well, I call it the participation award generation. Show up and, you show up to play soccer. You don't play. You're still a champion. This is like, get your crypto, show up, get rich. Get your venture capital money, get rich. And now what happened? Nobody learned how to lose. Guess what? Right. Losing is an important lesson in this lifetime. It's going to be the most important. In fact, I'm going to say this right now. Tens of thousands of people that are at that age are about ready to get a wonderful lesson in pain. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong. You know what? If people fail, you lose. Sometimes you lose, but that's when you pick up and come back. And that's how you separate the men from the boys and the successful people from the unsuccessful people. Not everybody can win. I'm sorry. This is like this whole idea of equality, is just total bullshit. It's like, you got to go out there and fight. Someone's got to, you watch it, I love MMA. Why? Because someone's got to lose, man. I go, in that game, you're only a champion for a little bit. Why? Because someone comes, knocks you out, but that's the way the game works, and in this case here with this crash coming here, I can think of so many people I know that during the .com crash, I knew some people that just got wiped out, but they came back. Some came back, some didn't. In the last crash, some people got wiped out. In the last crash, a lot of people never came back because they didn't come back because you weren't going to come back to something that should not have existed in the first place. That is massive amounts of free money, free leverage, zero down loans. We see housing going down. Guy gets a house, gets out a loan, gets a credit card, gets another house. Now he's got a daisy chain of debt. And now you're going to see one guy's going to go down and you're going to see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 foreclosures. You see these guys are on YouTube selling all these. They're not selling you anything new. Why? They're just teaching you how to go into debt. And this when debt bomb goes, it's going to be dominoes. And so now imagine how many people have mortgage loans out of that bank and went ahead and I'm going to invest in real estate. I bought 20, 30, 40, 50 houses here. So we're going to see literally daisy chains of dominoes of houses going in real estate coming out of that bank.
That's true. Watching those guys on YouTube brag about how many houses they own, it's like watching the trailer for The Big Short 2. It's like this is the next crash that's coming because these people aren't old enough to have learned the lesson from The Big Short 1. But it's coming. And it's real estate's going to get hit hard because of this. That's obvious. Now, John, just wrapping this up, tell people how they can find you on Telegram or wherever are your favorite channels.
I'm on Telegram, and like I said, Friday I broadcast for 11 hours, and I'll be honest, I treat it like a football game, but I go back and forth between geopolitics and the banking system. I went through the last crash. And we did great. During the last crash, we did great. We sold all our real estate, got into gold and silver, and people became millionaires in the silver and gold stock world. So I'm on Telegram. You can find me at Silver is Money and at Silver is Money News. And then my conspiracy channel, which everyone seems to love, is called Midnight to Damascus. So you go on Telegram, go to telegram.org. You can download the app there. You only need it. You just have an email and a phone number you're on. And we go 24/7. And I wake up in the middle of the night and broadcast. I don't stop. I go nonstop. But the name of the game is I want to educate and empower people so that people are educated. They see what's going on around the world and they can find ways to defend themselves and use what I call actionable intelligence. You come on the show, you learn something, say, I can do something with this, as opposed to, well, that's really interesting. It's like, like Friday morning, I said, you're going to do 3 things today. You're going to go to the bank. You're going to withdraw cash today. Then you're going to go to the gas station, top off your fuel tank. They said, why? I said, because Saudi Arabia just made a deal with Iran. Right. And I go, and that little country over Israel is called Israel. They may not be happy about that. They may decide to carry out a preemptive, like, let's take out Iran. That means they got to fly over the Persian Gulf where there's a lot of oil coming out. If that happens, boom. I imagine this would happen last time. Remember, in the summer of 2007, 2008, oil went to $153 a barrel. Every single truck at Long Beach, LA port came to a stop while the housing market was crashing. So we haven't even dealt with geopolitics, which is my specialty here. But if you go on Telegram, you can find me at Silver is Money, Silver is Money News. It's a great group. It's a family. And they've got a ton of Mike Adams listeners here. It's great. We participate. Yeah. We engage back and forth and do a good job there. It's a lot of fun. People call it the Sim family. Join the Sim family. Silver is Money, the Sim family. It's great.
John, in fact, I want to keep the invitation open to you, to join me in my regular studio, because this right here, this is kind of my home studio, but I've got my regular studio now that's up and rocking. We want to have you in as an analyst and a guest, from time to time there, but especially this coming week. Let's keep in touch and see what happens Monday and Tuesday, and get you on for an emergency update of what's happening, because people love having your analysis. And I think you and I, it's great that we can talk because we both know the whole history of what's happened financially. We're not playing catch up with each other, and we're not afraid to tell the truth. So hopefully let's keep in touch, see if you can join us this coming week.
Yeah, I'd love to. That would be great. We know we didn't touch on Bitcoin. Bitcoin was dropped down like 4,000 or 5,000 this week. I've got a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne sitting in my refrigerator. I told you I'll open it when we hit 14,000. Why is it? Because we hit 14,000, it's going to accelerate down to 10,000. I still think Bitcoin's going to go to zero. And when Jamie Dimon is deposed, I think all hell is going to break loose. Imagine, he was Bernie Madoff's banker and Jeffrey Epstein's banker. I mean, what are the odds? This is just like, wait a second, how is this possible? But it's coming.
I suspect that eventually the dominoes are going to hit Tether. And when that day comes, then all hell breaks loose in crypto. I mean, talk about a black swan event. Yeah.
Tether is the big one. I mean, where are these guys doing their transactions now for Bitcoin? I mean, FTX was their big deal, and so was Silvergate for FTX. It's like you're getting whack-a-mole. Pretty soon, everyone's going to be cornered into 1 or 2 exchanges. They're going to be cornered in 1 or 2 exchanges.
Binance is in trouble too. Binance is under a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of questionable stuff happening there. They've shut off certain exchanges.
Yeah, they're running out of moles to whack. It's going to be whack-a-mole. It's like boom, boom, boom. So they're coming to an end. Here's the good news: when everything just finally starts to really come unraveled, we are going to see gold and silver just freaking soar. And then people say, where are we going to go? It's like, there's only going to be one place to go besides precious metals. It's going to be mining stocks. I tell people, it's why? Because gold and silver are going to become a currency soon. Why? Because all currencies are going to lose, combined with the BRICS coming in, with the dollar coming in. It's pretty much we're pretty much just kind of sitting out, waiting for. It's like sitting at the top of a mountain. Like they said, the tsunami's coming. It's like, there it is. There's the first one. There's that little one coming. Oh, it's called Silicon Valley Bank tsunami. It's right there next to the Silvergate tsunami. I think we got wave after wave after wave of crashes coming. But this week, the techies, the 50% of the startups came out of Silicon Valley Bank. Man, these guys are going to get washed away. And if the Fed comes in and helps them, ooh, this is gonna be a social. This is gonna be just insane. I mean, this is gonna.
They're gonna get gobbled. I say, because I got to show you this picture. One of my dogs is now known as the bunny gobbler. I don't know if you can see that. Do you see that at all?
No, hold it a little closer.
The focus doesn't work there. This is a picture of my dog gobbling a bunny rabbit. It's probably, it's too bright. But
I feed the rabbits here. I have a lot of rabbits around here.
But she caught it herself. I mean, I didn't feed it to her. She caught it and she killed it. And then she gobbled it and swallowed it whole. And I mean, she just gulped this thing down.
She just ate it, huh? Oh my goodness.
She swallowed. That's why I call her the gobbler. She's the bunny gobbler. She swallowed like the skull, the hair, the feet, everything, man. It was gone. It was down the gullet. I'm like, how does a dog that small have a throat that big?
Sounds like it's a snake dog. She disjointed the jaw. That's crazy.
Yeah, she's crazy. The bunny gobbler. And I just thought that was the perfect metaphor for what's going to happen to people's bank accounts. They're just going to get gobbled, like gone. It's gone.
Well, one more thing before I go. I was picking up a set of teak wood chairs today, and my place I work outside sometimes, and I was in there talking with the owner, and I was there the week before, and she said, "Whoa," she says, "a lot of things you said last week came true this week. I couldn't help but to think about you." And then one of the customers looks, she goes, "Do you work in the banking world?" I said, "Close enough." And she says, "Well, I work for a software company." I said, "What do you do?" She says, "Payroll." I said, "Oh." Ooh. This was just about 4 or 5 hours ago. I said, "So talk to me." I said, "Were you able to make payroll?" And she went, "You think you'll make payroll next week?" She goes, "Our company had money in that bank." And I said, she asked me, "What do you think is going to happen?" I said, "It's going to get a million times worse. It is going to get and it's going to continue. They'll get a dead cat bounce, and it's going to accelerate and accelerate. Because why? Because Americans know, everyone in America knows, crypto is going to hell. If you bail out crypto, you're going to piss off a lot of people. And what are people going to do? Screw it. I'm taking my money out of the bank. I'm going to go buy some silver and gold and guns and bullets and food and body armor. And just, I'm doing things my way. I'm the bank of MMM, the bank of me, myself, and I, It's just like, we're done with these bankers, these criminals here, because that's what
you just described. The contents of my safe over there, by the way.
Well, this is
how did you know?
Yeah. The preppers right now, like, it's like right now the preppers are like hitting their chest like, "Oh, Tarzan, we got ready for this. I told you to get some silver, get your money out of the bank," So everyone's like, we're walking around like all the conspiracy theorists are like, again, another stripe, another stripe. We were right about COVID. We were right about this. We were right about lockdowns. We were right about the banks. We were right about silver. It's like the conspiracy for Halloween, people are dressed as conspiracy theorists, just dressed like a normal person. The conspiracy theorist of the last 3 years is now the most credible person in 2023 because they're the one who had everything right. Yeah.
Like you said, on vaccines, COVID, banks, finance, the fiat currency, everything.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people eating a lot of crow. And as you said, I think to go back to our very beginning of the show, you talked about the wokeism here. These are not normal banks. These are activist banks. They have agendas. They're not banks traditionally. When we think of a bank, we walk in, we put our money in, go, no, these are banks that come in there and you're like, it's like that scene. I was playing Pink Floyd this morning. I was watching the old Brick in the Wall where all the kids are walking with the mask and they jump into the meat grinder and they come out like ground meat on the other side. It's like, I forgot about that. Another Pink Floyd song. And it's like, we don't need no education. We don't need no thought control here. These banks are thought controlled monsters. They're like, okay, ESG, zero this, which is all bullshit because these people all drive Ferraris. They all have big boats. They all have private jets. So they're all completely full of shit when it comes to ESG. That's why extra scam grande, ESG. That game is ending here. But the whole banking system, it's like It literally is because it's like that meat grinder in the brick and wall. You go, hey, I came here to deposit my money. It's like, well, here's this, here's that, here's this rainbow flag, here's this, here's your pregnant Ken doll for opening up your bank account today. I mean, this is where we're at today, which is like really, I feel like I'm watching I don't know, like a Stanley Kubrick, Three Stooges movie or something. It just is so completely out of this world. It's like, and these people are wearing suits and ties thinking this is normal. It's like people are watching this and they may not be saying something, but we all know one thing here. This is not America. And nothing you're saying here, this is just wrong. Even kids know this. Like, I said, kids know this. They're not dumb. Even my dog knows this,
Yep.
But these people had billions of dollars and they had these programs in there. Just complete insanity.
They don't know what money is, obviously. They don't know that silver is money, just to refer to your channel again. But they're going to learn a hard lesson. So we're going to wrap this up, but let's keep in touch for next week and see what happens, see if we can get you back on. And folks, if you want to follow John Perez, just go to Telegram. And his channel is Silver is Money and also Silver is Money News. If you want to follow my work, of course, I'm at Brighteon.com, HR Report, which stands for Health Ranger Report, and also, of course, naturalnews.com. So, John, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Yeah, great. Enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the week. It's going to be this week's going to be like the playoffs. We're watching like the football game into the banking versus banking into the ground. It's going to be a big wipeout. It's going to be like, surfing safari wipeouts, wipeout. And sooner or later, what are going to say? Silver's going to snap here. It's going to snap. It's going to go kaboom. And all of a sudden, voila. And we're going to blow clear. And all of a sudden, everyone's going to wake up. Finally, it's going here. It's like, because where else are you going to go? Where else are you going to go?
Yeah, I know. Where else are you going to go? All right. Well, stand by. Don't hang up, John. I just want to thank you for joining me. This is, again, kind of an emergency margin call edition late at night. It's almost Sunday now, but it's getting so late here. But thank you for joining me, John. And thank all of you for watching. Again, I'm Mike Adams of Brighteon.com. We'll have more updates, podcasts, and interviews for you this coming week. And be sure to watch John Perez's channel, Silver is Money News, on Telegram. Thanks for watching today, everybody. Get prepared. Take care.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. A global reset is coming, and that's why I've recorded a new 9-hour audiobook. It's called The Global Reset Survival Guide. You can download it for free by subscribing to the naturalnews.com email newsletter, which is also free. I'll describe how the monetary system fails. I also cover emergency medicine and first aid and what to buy to help you avoid infections. So download this guide. It's free. It's my gift to you simply because I want like-minded people to survive.